offline games might just be what's keeping mobile gaming together for half the players around the world. I'm just guessing. I mean, we all know it's online games that are way more addicting, but regardless of all of that nonsense, we only get a few offline games every month. Today I've actually managed to gather around 20 single-player and offline games to play right now on your Android and iOS devices as well. So let's do it.
Playcare, our very own on-site orphanage.
So, anyway, considering this has been attempted for like 100 times at the least by anonymous indie developers and whatnot to bring the whole experience to mobiles, well, Poppy Playtime 3 is now on Android from Mob Games itself since last week and already downloaded almost 1 million times as well. Now this is just for those of you who missed it somehow and want the original thing, and for free, it plays offline or online, your decision, but it is legitimately the best thing you will play if you're looking for a horror game, period.
I'll kill you.
Now the crazy part. Astris, we mentioned earlier a month ago, is now on both stores officially released globally, and the only thing, I repeat, the only downside of this game is that it's a paid game. Or maybe it's not even such a downside either, because technically speaking, Astris is by miles the king of all premium role-playing games we came across for months. In fact, for years. It offers the best visuals in its own kind, period, compared to every game out there right now, and somehow on maximum performance it runs like butter. The game is 100 out of 20. With 1,000 downloads on both the Google and the App Store since yesterday, Thunder Raid is playable with Crunchyroll membership right now, playable offline at no ads, no scam, all legit. It's for those of you who missed it, a classic arcade boxing game that was first released on consoles a little while ago, now on mobiles with touchscreen controls as well as full support for game controls and adjusted for mobiles. It's not bad. That being said, here's a couple of things I'd like to mention. There is a rather decent clone off of the Contraband Police game on PCs. We're here going by the name Border Patrol Police, which if you're gonna play this one, play it without Wi-Fi. Otherwise, you're gonna uninstall in less than 5 minutes. So once you get in the game, go offline, you'll just be fine. This is like a tuned down version of the PC game. It's 150 megabytes initially, plays both with or without internet, and has really decent graphics and a lot of obstacles to get you busy. Well, number 5, it's actually the same deal. The same developers who made the previous one somehow managed to make a clone off of the Thief Simulator 2, the sequel, on Android last week. In fact, they even made the famous Parkour Op game on Android, which was then taken down today. And so will probably these two, but in any case before that happens, Thief Simulator 2 is actually a somewhat rather better clone of the previous game, of its original game. It's a free one offline, about 300 to 400 megabytes in total, with tuned down details in the same story campaign as well. Number 6. Available globally on both the Google and the App Store since last week. If you missed out on this announcement, Special Force Group 3 is an editor's choice game right now and ranked as the number 2 best free-to-play first-person shooter on the Play Store of the month. I can almost guarantee you're gonna love this one if you like anything about the CSGO and want to play it offline or online, either way. It's a free game, rated at 4.9, and takes you just roughly a gigabyte in total. No ads, no pay to win, it's all legit. Sitting on the Play Store with a 4.9, just the same, just 1,000 downloads however. Number 7, we've got Brock the Investigator. Once every while, maybe a month if you're lucky, we get a no-brainer when developers decide to port a PC to mobile for free with the same amount of replay, in fact sometimes even more. And that's exactly the case with Brock. This game is possibly one of the most replay-offering beat-em-up adventure story-driven games I have ever played. For some weird reason it's free on Android, plays offline and even with a controller. So give it a try while you can. Moving on to number 8, we've got a Rainbow Six SMOL. I mean, I'm sure most of you have already seen something about this. It was a top-down, cute take on Rainbow Six that features roguelite challenges and even a more durable gunplay if that's ever wanted. Basically adding a whole lot of goofy personality to Rainbow Six World. But believe it or not, this still feels like a collab between Ubisoft and Netflix, trying to retain the core tactical gameplay with new permadeath and some fresh approaches, not just in visuals. It's a good addition to your list if you have the Netflix membership as well. Plays offline.
Hey kid, wanna see a trick?
Anyway, Freaky Clown is actually back on the Play Store, and well, I'm not really that old of a player, but some of you know ZNK developers, the same who made all the Scary Teacher games, actually released this game years ago, but then Freaky Time, which we believe was released over 4 years ago, wasn't taken down because it was buggy. Not to our surprise, the game was re-released last week, and so far downloaded over 100,000 times with a much smoother gameplay, new content, and an offline play as well. Even though there is over 1 million sniping war simulation games on the Play Store, that temptation just doesn't stop these developers to make an even better game or something new. Speaking of which, we got one so good, I'm personally giving it a 10 out of 10 for a war sim, a first-person shooter, and a developer's first work. This tank battling / sniping and FPS RPG is legitimately one of the freemium games we came across in the past month. The whole thing is about 300 megabytes in total, plays both online and offline. It's rated a 4.8 out of 5.
Cam light out!
With a 4.5 and over 10,000 downloads on the other hand, on the Play Store only, we got since a few days ago SWAT Shooter Police. Now guys, here's actually the new work of one of the biggest mobile game developers on Play Store, offering a decent amount of stages, missions, and a slew of different guns to maneuver with. Unfortunately, it's a rather short game, but hopefully developers are coming up with new stuff. It's free, offline, and the whole thing is roughly 250 megabytes in size. Alright, this happens maybe once a month. It was the case with the second game in the list, if we're lucky. But once in a while, we're granted the honor of a new developer that actually knows what it's doing. And that is exactly the case with what we have here, No Robots, No Life. It's actually an open world action third-person shooter. It could even fit into the Souls-like category. It runs really smooth and is just on the right track with mechanics. You can play this one online and offline with or without your friends. The whole thing is just 200 megabytes, less than 200 megabytes, and is right now on the Play Store only. Actually, developers are promising to bring more content ASAP. Number 13, you see, we've actually mentioned Ghost Hunting last week. If you missed it, to our surprise, this game is now downloaded almost 5 million times. Remaining a 4.5 gaming rating, it's an action FPS, mostly sniping action, and the new work of the team who made Mini Survival last year. We're not really sure how this team managed to deliver a first-person shooter as a first attempt so well, but the game has almost everything perfected in formula. There's over 100 missions to play, different modes, and multiplayer, offline, and more. Here's the thing, if you're in for something just more mission-based, considering the FPS games we mentioned earlier, we've got since last week a Tactical Horizon, which is, as you can tell, just a tactical stealth and mission-based FPS with a pretty good design and a decent story campaign to boot, which is our favorite part. This game is on the Play Store only if you like your first-person shooting games offline or remain offline all the way. It might get tricky, you might want to need Wi-Fi and then go offline. Now, here's the thing, we don't really get many 3D modeling games anymore, and when we do, it's a paid game, revolving around engineering or something. Anyway, if you're an enthusiast for vehicles, especially war machines, this application over here allows you to recreate whatever you like, however you like, and go crazy with it. It's basically Lego, but you won't really have to start from scratch, and there's way more cooler options for you to create stuff with. Free game over here is about 200 megabytes in total somehow, and it's based off of real vehicles. Well, we also had the chance to find a new transportation sim game that doesn't really hurt trying, at the least. will go by the name Bharat Rail Sim, which is in Indian, but just in title because the whole thing is in English once you start the game. Now you mainly get to channel guide your train on different tracks and monitor different angles. It's a decent game if you're looking for something to chill, quite realistic, and the whole thing is just less than 500 megabytes in total. I give it an 8 out of 10. Available on the Google and the App Store for $50. Lost Potato Premium, well, despite the similarities in the name with potato, it actually doesn't really fall too far off it either because it's from the same developer. It's another minimalistic top-down roguelite, but this time you cannot damage enemies directly. You gotta push them into sparks, reflect all the bullets, and help the young protagonist Potato find its way out of this mess. It's a good game, it's offline, less than 100 megabytes in total.
Welcome to the Stone Age.
Stone Age was recently released on Android and iOS after its PC version, and it's sitting on both stores as of today. It's a faithful recreation of the Stone Age worker placement board game, and you can play against AI or in multiplayer. You can only pre-register the game now, give it a shot for free. The premium version of it is coming out in 2 weeks from now, and it's just in case you're unfamiliar with just a civilization management board game. Decent. Rated as the #1 highest rated and most well received turn-based strategy of last month, however the game just came over to iOS. Caves of Lore is also another paid game. It's a $9 piece of a turn-based role-playing game made in pixel art, and we'd like to think it's possibly the most detailed CRPG with real depth in really good pixel designs. So if you're looking for something, say, nostalgic, with a great story and even better mechanics, and for the $9 you'll spend here, you will definitely get what you spent for. Especially over 20 hours of replay, definitely a 10 out of 10. Number 20, we've got over here Dead Town. It's the new work of the super famous developers of Alpha Guns and Jungle Adventures. I mean, these folks release over 20 games with like 10 million plus downloads on each, so go figure. Anyway, Dead Town is a first-person strategy zombie shooter, sitting in place with a literal 5 out of 5 and over 5,000 downloads in less than a week. No ads whatsoever, game's a huge pool of enemies and guns, and the whole thing's free. And last but not least, I don't know why we always keep the greatest games to just give an honorable mention, but Yes Your Grace is no longer in pre-registration. It's on the Google and the App Store and rated a 5 out of 5 and almost 100,000 downloads on each store. It's by far the finest kingdom management pixel art sim game we've come across for years. I mean, maybe even right up there with games such as Kingdom Crown. Anyway, this thing was released over 4 years ago on PCs and now on mobiles for free, plays offline. All DLCs included, and it's about 800 megabytes in total.